We have our correspondent Tariq Abu Azoum, who's joining us from Deir el-Balah. So Tariq, the Israeli army have announced even more evacuations. There have been more airstrikes with more casualties. Tell us about the airstrikes and where they've been focused.
Yeah, it was really completely a very difficult night for the vast majority of the areas of the territory. Where only in the middle area, we are talking about at least 20 Palestinians have been reported killed, including 5 children till now, and this number is expected to rise as the process of emergency workers searching is still ongoing on the ground in that middle area. And we need to remember clearly that this is where Palestinians have been told in order to seek refuge and to be away from areas of operations. But at the other side of the Gaza Strip, in the far south in Rafah, we have been talking to a number of eyewitnesses confirming that there are new orders, evacuation orders have been passed by the Israeli military throughout, dropping leaflets and voice calls to the residents there, ordering to flee from the central areas of Rafah, not only from the eastern portion of the city, where battles now are emerging and raging there, but at the same time they are expanding the spots of the fighting to reach to the middle areas of Rafah, where these orders today have been given earlier to Ashabura neighborhood and the vicinity of Al-Aqsa Hospital in order to flee and to no longer exist in that area, because it will be in the future a military operation zone for the Israeli army. So the situation there is completely dire in light of the ongoing bombardment on the ground as casualties are arriving to Al-Aqsa Hospital on an hourly basis.
Yeah, and Tariq, where you are in front of Al-Aqsa Hospital, we understand that there have been a number of bodies who have arrived there as well.
Yes, that's right. We completely were shocked today with the bodies being lined up on the ground in Al-Aqsa Hospital. 20 bodies, including children and families who are desperately sad for the loss of their family members, as the Al-Aqsa Hospital is the main remaining hospital in the Deir el-Balah, which is responsible for providing medical treatment for hundreds of thousands of Palestinians. And in order to know more about how the hospital is operating in light of the ongoing military genocidal campaign, we are joined right now by Dr. Iyad Muhammad El-Jabri, who is the Deputy Director of Al-Aqsa Hospital.
Thank you for joining us, Dr. Iyad. How are you coping with the current situation as the number of casualties and fatalities within the hospital is rising? Honestly speaking, we are facing great difficulty as we are flooded with an influx of casualties and people injured in critical condition, especially that the condition is medium-sized. We used to have 200 beds. As we speak, we have more than in-house 500 patients, in addition to those attended to in the makeshift hospitals. We are trying to do our best to set up other makeshift hospitals. However, the number of casualties is huge. We can hardly cope up with the numbers of victims. Many of the victims are lying on the floor, and we are performing operations on the floor. We are attending to the sick and the wounded on the floor. We are flooded with high numbers of casualties, especially that other hospitals that used to give us a lending hand are no longer operations. Again, we are faced with massive difficulties, and I believe the situation is going to be worse in the future as the number continues to rise. How can you describe the situation within Al-Aqsa Hospital in terms of the availability of fuel sufficient to run the generators? We are speaking of fuel sufficient for a few hours, not a few days. We have more than about 4,000 liters of fuels. If we are not supplied with fuel at the earliest, the Al-Aqsa Hospital will come out of operations. If we are out of electric power, more than 10 patients who are currently attended to in the intensive care units, in addition to the babies in the incubators, those will die. We will lose those lives. We are in a dire need for electric supplies and fuel supplies in order to run the generators. Especially, we have many dialysis patients who are currently subjected to the process. As I said earlier, as the Al-Aqsa Hospital is no longer operational. Those patients and wounded who are attended to in that hospital are transferred to our hospitals. This is a massive pressure on our operations. It also is another form of pressure on our operations.
And that's completely the disturbing and difficult reality on the ground in Al-Aqsa Hospital, where it's right now dealing with an immense humanitarian and medical pressure in light of the expansion of the fighting into Rafah and with the ongoing military campaign in the entire territory.
Tariq, thank you so much. Tariq Abu Azzoum is our correspondent reporting from central Gaza for us.